Ulfric Stormcloak and Galmar Stonefist lie dead in the Jarl's Hall in Windhelm, and the Imperials have claimed victory in Skyrim Civil War. General Tullius and Legate Rikke begin the efforts to restore order in Skyrim as part of the Empire. But what comes next from here? Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Not too long ago, we covered what would happen in Skyrim after the Stormcloaks win the Civil War and attempt to establish Skyrim as an independent province. This time, we will be looking at the other outcome of the Civil War storyline in Skyrim. Now, since the outcome of this is player determined, both sides and storylines are plausible, just not canon, because this is simply my interpretation of what could happen if one side wins over the other. But in today's video, as stated by the title, we will take a look at a further storyline involving the Imperials after their victory in the Civil War. Unlike the Stormcloaks, whose goal it was to establish an independent Skyrim, the goal of the Imperials is to maintain the status quo of keeping Skyrim as part of the Empire. In fact, it would go even further. One important driving factor in the Empire joining the Thalmor by signing the White Gold Concordat is that it gives the Empire some time to rebuild their troops for a possible future counteroffensive against the Thalmor down the line. After seeing the tenacity of the Stormcloaks during the Civil War, one thing is clear. If the Empire is to succeed in launching some sort of counteroffensive, they will need the help of the Stormcloak soldiers, a feat that is not easy to achieve. And with that, let's begin this story. It is one random morning, and the Dragonborn has just defeated a random dragon on the road during their travels, and after launching a random firebolt that sends the skeleton flying to the horizon, he is approached by a courier with a letter that is from an unexpected sender. Dragonborn, congratulations on your victory over the Stormcloak Rebellion. Defeating them is a key step in establishing peace throughout Tamriel. We have heard of your accomplishments and are aware of your achievements and status as a Dragonborn. We apologize for the inconvenience that led to your arrest in Helgen. I hope this is the beginning of a prosperous and beneficial relationship between our two parties. On behalf of the Dominion, E. This is just being sent with no additional quests to follow, unlike most letters that come from the courier, so the Dragonborn goes about their business. Not too long after, another letter is delivered to the Dragonborn, this time requesting his presence in Castle Dour, where Tullius requests his presence. When the Dragonborn arrives to Solitude, he speaks with the general and his legate, Rikke. Dragonborn, first of all, I would like to say on behalf of the Empire and Skyrim, we thank you for your aid in the war against the rebellion. Without you, we would have lost Skyrim to the rebels, and that would have devastating results for all. I know you probably weren't expecting a history lesson, but I think it's important to know why this war happened in the first place. 30 years ago, the Thalmor invaded the Empire in the Great War. They had pillaged cities throughout the provinces loyal to the Empire to expand their power and influence, and their eyes were on the Imperial city, which they had managed to capture. Despite our Emperor Titus Mede II and his leading efforts to recapture the city, they did not have enough strength to reclaim Tamriel. So they signed a treaty with the Dominion known as the White Gold Concordat. One of the provisions of that treaty was the banning of Talos, which is what angered the Stormcloaks to start this rebellion. I don't blame them, considering Talos is highly revered in the lands of the Nords. Unfortunately, you coming into the picture makes it interesting, because the last time Dragonborns were living in Tamriel, they sat on the throne of the Empire. I am afraid some may see you as a threat to the rule of the Dominion and may attempt to take you out of the picture. I implore you, Dragonborn, stay safe on your travels. As we are now subjects to the elves, we cannot openly rebel against them, but I have a feeling that when the time comes, your services will be needed again. Farewell. The Dragonborn then leave Solitude, off to their next adventure. Despite that history lesson from Tullius about the Thalmor and their attacks on the Empire, there was a chilling feeling as if the general was trying to warn them of a possible attack by the elves, which is interesting considering they had just sent a letter previously, hoping for a prosperous relationship. Sometime after this event, the Dragonborn is once again exploring a dungeon in Skyrim when they are suddenly attacked by a band of Thalmor soldiers. You there, are you the Dragonborn? Even if there's an option to lie about your identity, it will not work. You cannot fool me. The description of your appearance is quite apparent. The Dominion would like to extend their acknowledgement of your contributions to defeating the rebels, but your services are no longer required. We are here to execute you. Kill them. During the battle, the Dragonborn gets unexpected aid from Delphine and Esbern, who help him dispose of the Thalmor. We were afraid something like this would happen. We got word the Thalmor would seek to eliminate you, and we were right. They fear your status as Dragonborn might give the Empire hope that they can stop the Dominion once and for all. But you are now a wanted man throughout Skyrim. We must flee to Skyhaven Temple. And with that, the three set out to the Hidden Temple. with the Dragonborn now wanted by the Thalmor. Because of their easy access throughout Skyrim, they will have agents installed in each of the 9 strongholds, keeping an eye out for the Dragonborn. This will make open exploration in each of the cities very difficult to achieve without being sneaky. This will have to be our active base of operations while we determine our next plan. Unfortunately, due to your popular status around these parts, you will have to find a way to lay low. Hiding your face will be difficult, so if you're able to change your face, then that'll be a start. Otherwise, wearing a hood or clothing that covers your face will work, but steer clear from any alert guards. And that is where the face sculptor in Riften plays an actual role in the story. It's not just merely for changing your face because you messed up during character creation. Of course, this is optional, but doing so will allow you to openly walk on the streets of each of the cities. Unfortunately, the Dragonborn still has one quality that distinguishes it from other people, which is their ability to absorb dragon souls, which is why any Aldmeri scouts and certain soldiers can still detect the Dragonborn, but not to the same extent if they didn't change their face. It's kinda similar to the Elder Scrolls Online when you can get a disguise, but certain guards from that faction can detect you if you're close enough. Esbern then continues the conversation. Well, Dragonborn, it looks like you will have to exercise caution when you traverse Skyrim. For now, you will have enemies behind the city walls. If you can continue recruiting more people for the Blades, as well as talk to any members of factions you are associated with to see if they can provide support. This is where the Dragonborn would then go back to Skyrim. It is important to note that if the Dragonborn has kept Paarthurnax alive, this will not matter to the story because the Blades' hatred for the Thalmor for hunting them down during the war far surpasses their desire to kill Paarthurnax because of his role in the Dragon Rule. So they will help the Dragonborn regardless. The Dragonborn then continues once again with their adventures until this time he is summoned to an undisclosed location underneath Solitude, where he is greeted by a rather interesting person. Dragonborn, we need to talk. It appears you have arrived at an unexpected time. I was planning a future counteroffensive against the Thalmor from the Imperial city, but it appears there may be a glimmer of hope from the lands of Skyrim. Of course, I know you are exhausted from your battle with the rebels, so I decided to make the trip to see you. I am sure Tullius has already told you, but we had to sign the White Gold Concordat in order to preserve our control over the Imperial city. Unfortunately, this meant that the worship of Talos had to be banned in these lands, and well, the Stormcloaks did not take to that particularly well. But I stand by what I did, and this is the part that the Stormcloaks do not know. We do not have enough power to challenge the Thalmor. Ever since the Oblivion Crisis, they had gained much more power and influence that their ranks grew. I was willing to overlook their pride and anger in order to achieve the bigger goal, which is to drive the Thalmor out of these lands. I hope you are willing to aid me in my eventual quest to overthrow the Thalmor. As I understand it, you have affiliated yourselves with the Blades, once Dragon Slayers who became advisors and supporters of the Dragonborn Emperors. I believe our revolution will start here, but for now, I must return to the Imperial city and ensure the safety of its people. For the time being, work with the Blades and expand their influence. Gather more followers and prepare yourself for the inevitable battle against the Thalmor. I must take my leave. And with that, the Emperor puts his hood back on and with a single guard for company, makes his return to the Imperial city. When we take a look at what happens going forward in gameplay to progress in the story, when the Dragonborn sided with the Stormcloaks, they had to expand the city of Winterhold back to its former glory in order to advance the storyline. In this case, the Dragonborn will have to expand the Blades in order to progress in the story. The initial quests would start with infiltrating Thalmor camps, disrupting plans, and rescuing Thalmor prisoners, which, ironically enough, are former Stormcloak soldiers. But the Dragonborn would be given an option to recruit them to the Blades if they wanted to. Along the way, the Dragonborn can even ask followers to join the Blades or ask Thalmor prisoners. Every time a certain number of members for the Blades is reached, more important quests take hand. This would include the likes of infiltrating a stronghold or dungeon where a group of Thalmor have set up, likely as a stop for them to scout for the Dragonborn's movements, and recruiting special characters with certain abilities to allow for more flexible missions against the Thalmor. The details of it are not relevant right now because I have not thought of those quests in specifics at the time of this recording, but if you want more details on them, they will be revealed in the next video, so be sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on this video so I know that you want to see that come out. One day, the Dragonborn gets yet another unexpected visitor. This time, however, it's at the doorstep of Skyhaven Temple. This is another hooded figure, but The hooded figure has a very notable black and yellow color scheme decorated on his hood, and when he unhooded himself, he spoke. So, this is Skyhaven Temple. I have always heard rumors of another stronghold the Blades had apart from Cloud-ruled Temple that we had infiltrated and destroyed some years ago. But I always thought they were just that, rumors. Ah, Dragonborn, I had a feeling you would be hidden here. You see, while you were engaging in your heroics to hinder our plans, we were scouting you. Giving you the full sense of security and momentum caused you to be a bit too arrogant, leaving behind footprints wherever you went, until we found your secret hideout. I will admit, very impressive, and very hard to discover. But unfortunately, here we are. I will give you one last chance to surrender yourself to us. Come quietly, and your fellow Blades will be spared. At this point, the only option the Dragonborn really gets is no. Not willing to surrender without a fight, eh? So be it. I am alone. Or am I? At this moment, fire and ice spells suddenly appear from what appears to be out of thin air that strike the Blade's defenders, with many of them being dazed from the flames. A battle now breaks out in front of Skyhaven Temple. The Thalmor, now with vast numbers underside after exposing themselves from a mountainside surrounding Skyhaven Temple, push towards the Blades. Normally, the Blades would have an advantage because the entrance could only be opened by the blood of the Dragonborn. But because of the surprise attack from the Thalmor, some of them managed to infiltrate the temple before the entrance gets sealed. While most of the army remains outside of the temple, some of them have infiltrated and are currently doing battle with the Blades. Despite the Thalmor's ability to utilize both magic and physical combat, the Blades' determination and unity around the Dragonborn gives them the momentum in the skirmish. Despite the Blades being victorious against the Thalmor that have infiltrated the temple, it wasn't without their losses. Some of the recruits the Dragonborn acquired during the quest do fall in this battle, and they do not have the numbers to launch an offensive to the substantially larger number of elves waiting outside of the temple. What do we do here? Without a second thought, the Dragonborn steps outside to the back of the temple and shouts to the skies. Oh, Daving! With the shout to the skies, a red dragon flies from the skies and lands at the temple. Dovahkiin, why have you called me? After explaining the situation, he responds. So, you need to leave this place. Very well. Hop on my back. Unfortunately, I cannot take your company. Let me know when you are ready. Before the Dragonborn leaves, Esbern has a word with them. With Skyhaven Temple exposed, we can no longer use this as a base of operations. You have but one option, Dragonborn. Fly to the Imperial city and gather the armies of the Empire against the Dominion. That is our only chance of survival. We will be fine here. The Thalmor failed to destroy the Order of the Blades once before, and they will fail again. This time, it will cost them their power. Fly, Dovahkiin. And with that, the Dragonborn rides on the back of Odahviing and the two fly south, where a barrage of spells shooting upwards towards them but missing at every attempt. The Dragonborn and the Blades have been fully surrounded by the Thalmor in a surprise attack as they build their forces in an attempt to liberate Skyrim. With the Blades being cornered at Skyhaven Temple, the Dragonborn has no other choice but to call on the dragon Odahviing to rescue the Dragonborn from the temple, leaving the ongoing battle between the elves and the Blades to themselves. However, the Dragonborn does not fly immediately to south to Cyrodiil. Instead, they make their way to the southeast, towards another city. Even though the Dragonborn is instructed to go to Cyrodiil and work with the Emperor in the impending war, the Dragonborn decides to make a stop towards Riften. What are we doing here, Dovahkiin? Odahviing asks. It won't take long. I will call you again when I am ready to fly towards the Imperial city. The Dragonborn approaches the city of Riften, where he sees Thalmor soldiers and agents patrolling the gates. How am I going to get to her? Oi, Dragonborn! A voice can be heard from the bushes nearby. Looking to get into the city, are ya? No, I think I get it. You want to go to the Wrathways. You want to see the face sculptor. Brynjolf appears from the shadows and greets the Dragonborn. Good to see you again, lad. I figured something was up when I heard word of Thalmor agents pouring into Skyrim in large numbers making their way into the cities. I had created a secret passage directly from the Wrathways to the outskirts of the city in case such a thing happened. But I think you are looking to get inside. Follow me. The Dragonborn follows Brynjolf through the passageway and directly makes their way to the Ratways, where they are met with the other Thieves Guild members, relieved that their guildmaster is safe. The Dragonborn then approaches the face sculptor, who is not surprised by his appearance. "I was wondering when you were going to see me. A way to get past the Thalmor without being noticed. Well, there is no better method than completely changing the way you look. Ready for me to rearrange your face?" Okay, I'll be honest. That last line makes it sound like the sculptor is going to beat up the Dragonborn, considering that's a common phrase used in fights, but I just thought to add that because it was both funny and appropriate at the same time. I added this segue into the story because it gives the storyline use of the face sculptor in the Ratways. Normally, we use her if we want to change what we look like, but it doesn't really affect the game overall. But I think in a world where we play an important figure such as the Dragonborn causing so many problems for the Thalmor, it is likely that the people would and should know what they look like. After choosing your new design for the face, the sculptor bids you farewell and you are off. From here, you are about to head to the Imperial city, but a thought races in your mind. If I summon Odahviing and fly to the Imperial city, the Thalmor will notice my direction. No, I must travel on foot, and I should avoid fighting dragons while I can. So as the Dragonborn heads south towards Cyrodiil and the Imperial city, he comes across various sights, or in the case of gameplay, random encounters, ranging from increased Thalmor activity in the streets, some even holding Blades members you have recruited as prisoners, which you obviously have the option to save, to increased dragon attacks. And every time you defeat a dragon and absorb its soul, a group of Thalmor will immediately show up after and attack you. As you get closer to the southern border, you are surrounded by warriors that don't have elven armor, but instead they are wearing clothed hoods and have curved swords. I was wondering when I was going to meet the legendary Dragonborn. Now, here's where it gets interesting. During the quest In My Time of Need, if you decided to help Kamatu arrest Sadia, it is he who is talking to you. If you decided not to, or you haven't done the quest yet, then you just get an NPC named Alik'r Commander, which is much more lame. I always like the idea of connecting decisions from other quests together to make the decisions more important. Maybe it's something I got from playing The Witcher 3 because it does that aspect so well. Anyway, for the purposes of the story, we will go with the route that gets us Kamatu for this storyline. I must say I appreciate your help in finding Sadia in Whiterun. You did us a massive favor that day. I would say it's only fair that I return the favor. I have received word of the Thalmor uprising here in Skyrim since the defeat of those rebellious Stormcloaks. As my people are resisting the fight against the Thalmor, my commander has allowed me as my detachment to go to Skyrim and help the Dragonborn in their efforts. But who knew it would be the same person who's helped me in the past? You cannot go to the Imperial city after your little stunt escaping the temple. There are Thalmor everywhere. The good news is, they pretty much evacuated almost all of Skyrim, save for a garrison who is currently in Solitude and have taken it over, thanks to the ambassador Elenwen. If you can get rid of that garrison, I would say Skyrim is mostly freed, but our band is not strong enough. We need to gather all available forces, and yes, from both Imperials and the Stormcloaks, and unite them under the Dragonborn's banner. How do I know about what you have done? Well, once I found out you were the Dragonborn, I had kept an eye out on you. So I am aware of your movements and wanted to wait for the perfect opportunity to speak to you without rousing suspicion. But we have a common goal, to get rid of the Thalmor and drive them back to their homelands. I will gather more troops and establish a base. You should go and gather forces. I will contact you further once we are ready to march onto Solitude. Once the Alik'r leave, the Dragonborn decides to stay. From this point on, a mission will open on finding a location to gather the soldiers. There really only is one viable place to do so, Whiterun. It is the only place that can host a large army to march into battle. It has open fields and the city of Whiterun is everyone's favorite in the game, so why not? While it will be a difficult thing to convince Galgrove to allow a large army to set up camp pretty much in his backyard, he will eventually agree considering he is doing a service to the Dragonborn after all they have done in the Civil War and perhaps the main storyline if they get far enough. Not to mention he also has the Skyforge statue, which is known in lore to drive back elves because of its mysterious powers, so they will be quite safe there. From then on, a bunch of missions will open, such as visiting Imperial and Stormcloak camps to gather and prepare for an assault on Solitude. The Imperials will be very easy to convince because you sided with them during the Civil War, so they will happily march to Whiterun and gather their forces there. The Stormcloaks may be another matter. Some will lower their arms and join willingly because they now have a common goal. Others may resist initially, leading to a skirmish, but will eventually surrender and join, but in fewer numbers. There may also be some side missions, such as a couple of your old followers from the Blades that are being kept prisoner in various locations throughout Skyrim, or are currently being transported to Cyrodiil, but you have the chance to rescue them and join your ranks. Once all of these missions are done, you would return to Whiterun and assess the numbers you have got for the mission. But you realize you do not have enough troops to possibly defeat Solitude's garrison of Thalmor, but you don't have any other choice, and march out. Before you leave, however, a small army of Alik'r, numbering around 100, join you, led by Kematu. I doubt this army would be able to assault the walls of Solitude, but we have to try. I have gathered my detachment. We are ready to march. The army then heads out with the Dragonborn leading the way. Eventually they reach Dragon's Bridge, where they recruit some of the guards that are stationed there, who have been kicked out from the city due to the Thalmor's orders. However, from a distance southwest, the Dragonborn notices a figure hiding in the trees. Getting an idea, he tells Kematu to continue the march as another side mission comes up. Fine, I'll lead the charge, but don't take too long. Many of these men and women are looking to you for courage. The Dragonborn then heads to the forests in Reach territory, where the figure reveals themselves as a Forsworn commander. It looks like you are making an attack towards the Thalmor garrison at Solitude. It looks like you do not have enough numbers to fully take over the city without suffering some casualties. So, I make you an offer. On behalf of the Forsworn, we offer our swords onto you, despite our history with the Nordsmen in Skyrim. However, in return, Imperial troops must leave Markarth and it will return to the rule of the Forsworn as it has in the past. What say you? From here, the Dragonborn has a choice. They can choose to employ the help of the Forsworn, which would open up a future post-battle questline of negotiating terms of returning Markarth to the Forsworn, or refuse their help. Regardless of the Dragonborn's decision, it will be possible to retake Solitude and drive out the Thalmor, but without the Forsworn's help, the battle will be slightly more difficult and there will be more Thalmor the Dragonborn will have to fight through the city. With this decision, we will go with the Dragonborn deciding to accept the Forsworn's help, and structure for a future Forsworn negotiation for Markarth can be done in a future video if that is something you guys want to see. Let me know in the comment section if you do want to see that, and leave a like on this video if you're enjoying the story so far. The Dragonborn accepts, and the Forsworn come out of the Reach in massive numbers, marching with the Dragonborn onto Solitude, where sounds of swords clashing and explosions can be heard. The battle is well underway, with most of Skyrim's forces inside the city, but they are facing fierce resistance from the elves. The Dragonborn and the Forsworn join in the battle, and they help to turn the tables. While some of the soldiers are surprised by the arrival of the Forsworn, known rivals of theirs, they are overall relieved by the aid and continue the fight. Eventually, the combined forces of Skyrim, composed of a mix of Imperial soldiers, former Stormcloaks, Blade followers of the Dragonborn, including Delphine and Esbern, who escaped the temple, the Alik'r led by Kematu, and now the Forsworn. They all managed to subdue the Thalmor, but there is one task left. Elenwen must be defeated. The Dragonborn enters the palace with Elenwen sitting on Jarl Elisif's throne, looking at the Dragonborn and slowly applauding. Well done, Dragonborn. You had us believing that you were headed to Cyrodiil, so we sent away most of our soldiers there. For you to gather what little rabble Skyrim had left on your civil war and attack us in Solitude, I will admit, you outsmarted me, and even got past my garrison. Unfortunately, once you die in this court, your army will scramble. They are nothing but misfits who can't even get along if it wasn't for you. Now, let's finish this, shall we? A fierce battle then ensues between the Dragonborn and Elenwen, and after all the chaos and destruction, the Dragonborn eventually defeats and kills the Thalmor ambassador in Skyrim. You have won this day, Dragonborn. For now. Elenwen breathes her last words as she falls to her death. While the Dragonborn and his army have claimed victory for today, there is much rebuilding to do, and the looming threat of the Thalmor still stands. But at least for the time being, Skyrim is free from the threat of the Thalmor. That is something worth celebrating. This is where the Skyrim arc of the story will end. As you can see, there are unresolved storylines that we can expand on, and I can keep going for future videos, but I think keeping the story concise within the borders of Skyrim would be better. Otherwise, we would need to create a map of Cyrodiil using Skyrim's engine, and we already have Skyblivion working on that project in order to continue further. I hope you enjoyed this full story on what if the Imperials won the Civil War in Skyrim. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like on the video, and let me know in the comments what other stories you'd like me to make. It could be a diversion from a storyline already established, or some sort of alternative timeline or outcome from one decision made at any point during any of the quests. Other than that, this is Enzo signing out, and I will see you all in the next video.